Venters, if you would have told me once upon a time that there will be a day in the future, Jesse, where your happiness for a particular day or week or month is going to be connected to a Chinese company that goes out of business here in the States, I would have said the chances of that being a true statement are about 1 in a billion. But yesterday, when TikTok turned itself off for Americans, it really bummed me out because I didn't really care so much that TikTok left us, but they have a company that they own through ByteDance called CapCut. And I use CapCut editing software to basically edit my walks, to edit my videos with you guys. And so all of a sudden last night, I go up to my computer and open up CapCut only to find out that it too had been banned in the United States. I was really bummed, and I was trying to hustle and figure a way to put up my videos last night, and it just led to a lot of frustration. And you know as well as I do, whether it's CapCut going out of business, or the car running out of gas on the freeway, or the bills not being able to be paid on time, there's a million and one things that stress us out. The good news is my hobby is walking, so while I'm walking, I can always strategize about how I can overcome these hurdles, and I can always kind of bring stuff down to earth, because I'm sure we can agree that the biggest thing in the world for me is not necessarily if a company goes out of business, right? The biggest things in the world are our health and the health and welfare of our families and friends. And when it comes to my family and friends, we're doing okay. So while yesterday I wasn't able to edit my videos the way I wanted to, and it was a bummer, it's not the hugest thing in the world. Today I was wondering how I was going to learn some new software, and I was doing just that earlier today, trying to learn some new editing software, and I suppose I'll make do with it. But then I just heard literally 5 minutes ago that I guess Trump talked TikTok into turning its system back on for people, because I guess he's going to be doing an executive order on Monday to delay their termination date. So I don't know if he's going to give them 30 days, 60 days, or 90 days. But I'm assuming when I go back home, I'll be able to use TikTok. But you want to know, or not TikTok and CapCut. But you want to know the truth? Even if I'm not able to, life goes on. That's one of the things that I want to stress to you guys. This walk is not some joke that I do each and every day just to be a YouTuber. I've been walking, whether it be this neighborhood or other neighborhoods that I've lived in, for decades now. There's just something really wonderful about the walk. Now, I'm human just like you. Things do stress me out. I do tend to make mountains out of molehills, just like many of us do. But that's one of those things that I like to work on while I'm on my walk. And you want to know something? What better way to learn than when you're forced to, right? So if TikTok and CapCut don't ever come back, or if they do come back but it's short-lived, that's okay. We'll find a way. We'll find a way. One of the things that I told myself when I started this YouTube channel is I said it's a real shame that every time I walk, there's no one out here walking with me. You're almost always alone, and I'm sure you guys know this when you're on your walks as well. My goal is to change that. That's the number one thing that I want to do. I want to get people excited about walking, because it's not so much that the walk is exciting, but it's what the walk does for us that gets me excited. Could you imagine if all of a sudden we, as Venters, as a team, could you imagine if we could lower the occurrence of heart attacks and strokes in this country? Even if only 1 or 2%, that's a lot of people. Could you imagine if we could help people get control of their weight, so that maybe instead of 3 out of every 4 of us being obese, maybe we could bring that number to 1 out of every 4 of us? And then I'm sure if we could do that, we could even work on that too. Yesterday I was talking to you guys a little bit about baby steps, and how even though right now you might just be walking half an hour a day, and you might still be partaking in dessert and junk foods and Coca-Colas, if we keep trying to make little tiny improvements, little tiny baby steps, we can move forward. By the way, I wasn't too excited about doing editing tonight either, right? But if TikTok's back up and if CapCut's back up, I should be able to have a nice evening. And here's the cool thing, tomorrow is MLK Day, so tomorrow's a day where we all get to kind of sleep in for an extra hour or two. So that's always nice as well. This weekend I got to spend some time with my daughter and granddaughter because it was my daughter's birthday. You know, I consider myself to be a young person, but I know in my heart that I'm technically a middle-aged guy now, right? I guess what's interesting is a lot of us don't consider ourselves middle-aged till we hit our 50s, but the truth is you're middle-aged when you hit about 35 to 40, if you think about it. Because by the time we're 70, we're pretty much done for, most of us at least. I think that's another reason why I like to walk. My thinking is, what if every day that we walked added an extra day at the end? Wouldn't that be crazy? To know that if you and I can walk together for the next 15 or 20 years, we might be able to add 15 or 20 years to the end of our life. I always used to joke with you guys that even if you live to be 100, you're just going to be extending those years that are the miserable ones. But that's not necessarily true, because where I always figure that the walk helps your physical health and even your mental health, there's a lot of scientific evidence out there that points to the idea that it could even help you stave off conditions like dementia and Alzheimer's. And so I don't know about you, but my thinking is if we can live to be 90 or 100, where we're still able to be somewhat active and still have our thoughts in our head and everything working properly, then I wouldn't mind living that long. But even if we only live to be 70, 80 years old, I'd still like it to be one where we're active. And again, I don't think too many of us are going to be going down playing basketball full court down at the park. But at the same time, I think a lot of us probably could walk a couple times around that park. And heck, that's a good thing. If you've been trying your best to slow down on the sugars and stuff, let me know. I want you to know that I know it's not easy, but I know it's very doable. A lot of times people will tell you that, hey, sugar is just as addictive as cocaine or heroin or any other drug. I don't know if that's true or not. I do know one thing: when you can quit sugar, you end up feeling really, really good, mentally and physically. And when you quit those other drugs, there's a really bad hangover involved and a really bad depression that you go through and withdrawal symptoms. I think the baddest thing or the worst thing that happens when you quit sugar is you might be thinking about sugar like crazy for a couple of days, but you want to know something? It gets easier. It really does. They say everything gets easier. I'll tell you one thing that doesn't get easier: this YouTube deal. Holy moly. YouTube is one of those things where I feel like the harder I try, the harder it gets. But then I feel like it's one of those things that you can't help but try your best, because it's really hard to just not try at anything, you know? By the way, I want to ask you guys a question. I know a couple of you looked at my video from a couple weeks back where I feel like I captured a UFO or something in the background. That something in the background, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't that something that I caught in the background kind of resemble an egg? And I don't know if you guys saw this picture or not. I always put it on the wrong side. I don't know if you guys saw this picture or not, but I ended up checking out a News Nation special with Ross Coulthart, and apparently the guy he had on the show with him said that he had video of an actual UFO that they caught. And if you look at this, it looks kind of like something was holding a literal egg. And it reminded me of Mork and Mindy. I don't know if you guys remember that show, Mork and Mindy, but if you remember, Mork was from Ork, and he and his son both came down in eggs. And if you remember in Ork, Mork from Ork, in Ork or wherever the heck they were from, they age in reverse. So if you remember, I think the actor's name was Jonathan Winters. He looked like he was about 70 years old. He played the role of Robin Williams' son on that show. By the way, I used to have a real crush on Mindy, right? From Mork and Mindy. And Mindy, I think her real name in real life was Pam Dauber. And correct me if I'm wrong, Venters, but I think she actually passed away like within the last 3 or 4 years. I don't remember how long ago it was, but I feel like she passed away recently. Sometimes with broadcasters and famous people, we see them, at certain stages in our life, and they might look young and vibrant and really gorgeous, right? There's a lot of good-looking people in this world, as you know. And then you go 15, 20, 30 years without seeing them, and all of a sudden you hear that they pass away, and it's a little shocking. A couple of months back, you remember that actress Terry Garr left us. And what's interesting about Terry Garr, she was in the movie Tootsie. She was in a handful of movies that were pretty good, and including Mr. Mom, I believe. And anyway, she kind of always played that role of like the pretty yet ditzy kind of blonde professional. And all her movies, I remember thinking, my God, this woman is drop dead gorgeous. And now she's just dropped dead. These people don't live forever. And here's what's crazy. The other day I was talking about Y2K and how it's hard for me to believe that Y2K was literally something that happened 25 years ago. If you add 25 years to my life, all of a sudden I'm 73 and potentially not even here anymore. So I guess if I had to be honest, guys, that's probably the real reason I walk. I like for the world to slow down. I've been having this really weird situation happen to me, kind of a phenomena where every time I look up at the clock, let's say it's 7 a.m., I'll look down and I'll think to myself, golly, I got to get ready for work pretty soon here. And then this is no joke. I look back up at the clock and I'm thinking it's going to say 7:02 and it says 7:07 or maybe even 7:12. Does anybody else have that happen? Do you find yourself looking at the clock and thinking, God, I know that 20 minutes didn't just fly by? Now, some people might say, oh my God, Jesse, you need to do something more with yourself than just go on a walk and stare at clocks. But I'm really being honest, guys. There's so many situations in my life where I look down from the clock and then I look back up and I swear it's only been a couple minutes, but I look up and like 15 or 20 minutes have gone by. Jesse, maybe this is one of those escaped times, these lapses in time that UFO abductees go through. They lose 3 or 4 hours at a time, and a lot of times they're alcoholics on top of it. That's not what I'm discussing. I think that we really are, I'm starting to really think that we really are in some sort of simulation. I know I hint to it at least once or twice a week, but think about this, guys. For some reason, we're in this game. It almost seems like a video game. The more things change, the more things stay the same, don't they? And no matter what you do, you can't quite seem to get out of the spot that you're in. And every time you need for the clock and for time to slow down, it seems to do the exact opposite. So I was bummed out because I'm like, holy crap, I got to figure a way to do my editing now. It already took me 4 hours. Now it's going to take me 6. And then I was blessed to find out that, hey, tomorrow's a holiday, we're all off. I'm sorry that MLK had to lose his life for us to be able to cherish his day off. I'm at that point in my YouTube career where I'm starting to look at all the other YouTubers and I'm starting to say, oh my God, these people are all so darn talented. They sound like they're straight off of a news broadcast or straight off of a television show. No wonder I suck. It's so weird. When I first started my show, it was completely about the 90-day challenge and walking, you know. And then somewhere along the line, I just came up with the idea within my own head that, you know, maybe it's boring and I need to talk about other things. But you want to know something? None of that ever worked. So I find myself at a crossroads. Do you want to keep trying to improve and keep trying to change? Or do you want to niche down and literally just talk about walking and calories burned and sugar avoided and stuff? And I don't know what the answer is to that, guys. I really don't. I know one thing. I love my walk, and I'm kind of glad that I put my show as part of my walk, because as crazy as it sounds, it motivates me to keep on going. Don't get me wrong, if I didn't have my camera, I would still be walking in some way, shape, or form. But I love taking you guys with me. I wish I was a little bit more special and talented and funny and the whole 9 yards. But you guys are so darn loyal. I just want you to know that I think there's something special about that. In this world where I'm constantly complaining that there are no loyalties left, you guys are always incredibly loyal. I think it's because deep down you guys know what I know, that there's something really cool about walking. How come we don't appreciate those things as kids? And I'm serious, think about this. If we could transport you back to when you were a 10-year-old, how many of you would go and grab your bike and start bike riding around the neighborhood? You wouldn't necessarily start walking. And neither would I. When I was 10, I wanted to be on my scooter and my bike. I wanted to be playing games. The last thing I wanted to do was to be walking. Now, don't get me wrong, I walked all the time back then because I walked to and from school, but I never saw it as some exciting, great thing. And even nowadays, let's be honest, it's not some exciting, great thing, but it's something I enjoy. And if you guys enjoy walking with me, I appreciate it. I wish there was a million of us, but at the same time, I'm happy that I just have a handful of you. I really am. I was watching one of our venters. His name is AZ Raccoon, and I urge you guys to check out his show. He does little 4 to 10 minute videos most of the time. And most of the time, his videos are just about kind of feeling better, not feeling so down. He probably talks a lot of people away from the cliff, right? Because sometimes you need to keep in mind that the world ain't going to end just because you're having a bad day. He hits on really interesting subjects, and AZ Raccoon, if you're listening to my words, I want you to know that there is something really fascinating about your show. We live in a world where so many people have issues that they're dealing with, insecurities, lack of self-esteem, lack of self-worth, right? And people like you that do shows like you, and the comments that I see on your show just prove that, you know, you're doing a lot of good for people. And even though I might not see a million comments, I still do get the occasional comment where they say, Jesse, thank you. I've been walking with you for weeks. I'm really starting to turn the corner. Keep going. The walk must go on. I absolutely love that. And where I met my daughter and my granddaughter at this breakfast place called First Watch. I'm sure you guys have been to First Watch. It's nice. I like that place. Anywhere where you can have bacon and eggs, it's a good place usually. maybe except for Denny's, right? Denny's isn't the best. But First Watch is nice. And after we had our breakfast, normally I would give her a hug, kiss the grandbaby, and say, okay, I'll see you guys next time. Have a happy birthday. But I don't know why, something just urged me. It said, Jesse, tell your daughter you love her and ask her if she wants to go shopping or something. And when I asked her, I half expected her to say, no, Dad, we already have plans, but thank you so much for meeting up with me, and you have a good day too. But she goes, you know what? Yeah, let's go. There's a mall not too far from here. Let's go. And don't get me wrong, it's always fun to shop, and my daughter's not crazy. She enjoys shopping. But it was just really cool because we ended up going after breakfast to the mall, and we did a little shopping. And then after the mall, because we were there for a couple of hours, we went back to this place where I was parked so that she could drop me off to my vehicle. And then we just kind of both said, are you hungry? And we both were a little bit hungry again. So we ended up having lunch. So I know this sounds crazy, but it worked out where I was basically in the presence of my daughter for like 5 or 6 hours. Guys, that was the first time, God, I feel guilty almost saying this. That was the first time that I've been in the presence of my daughter for that long of a time in like probably going on 10 years. Isn't that crazy? All the way through her high school days, she would come over and visit every other weekend, and she would stay every Wednesday, right? So it was like she was constantly in my life, but for the last 10 years or so, you know, it's not like she ever comes and spends the night, and I don't really spend the night there, although I did spend the night there the night of my surgery. So if you consider that hanging out with her, then so be it. But the point I'm making is the most important people in our lives are not the people we haven't met yet. It's the family members that we have. And it was really nice hanging out with her for a good long time. And I look forward to doing that again in the future. Hopefully, someday my granddaughter will be in soccer or softball or dance or something. And hopefully I can get my lazy butt in a vehicle and drive down and be a part of it. At least that's the goal. So that's why I walk. Because you never know when someone's going to call from the past and say, hey, Dad, I want to hang out. Let's hang out. And I want to be that dad that says, I'll be there. Let's do that. And I'm sure deep down you guys want to be parents like that as well. And even if you don't have kids, I'm sure you guys have nieces and nephews. I would urge you, pick up the phone and see if your niece or your nephew wants to meet up for lunch. And then as soon as you're done with lunch, ask them if they want to go see a movie or go out to maybe do a little mild shopping. I think it's something that you'll enjoy. I used to have these YouTube dreams that one day I would wake up and instead of having a couple hundred subscribers, I would have, tens of thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands. And I envisioned myself having the whole day to just focus and work on shows that I wanted to do. And now between working full time and trying to do my walking channel, I just realized, my goodness, there's just not enough hours in the day. I have so many ideas up here that I want to implement, but sometimes it's just you don't quite know how to do it. I've been pondering it. I've been diving into my think tank. So why do I bring this up? Well, I want to do more. And I know deep down a lot of you guys want to do more, but you don't know how. That's why I always bring up Kaizen. Figure a way where we can baby step up. So I want you to know while you're thinking of little baby steps to improve your life, I'm doing the same with mine. I don't want to give up on my YouTube channel, not that I'm going to. I don't want to give up on it being a success. So I just want you guys to know that there's not a day that goes by where I don't try to figure a way to improve. And I'm hoping that something rubs off on you guys and it makes you want to do something bigger and better when it comes to your health and your goals in life. Anyway, have a beautiful day. I'll see you tomorrow.